We are talking about life on this live. I know if you get in here, you get frustrated. I can't make any comments. Well, just go down here, look at that little screen down there. It says, please direct comments and questions to utologyforme@gmail.com. I did that because we were having a lot of distractions in the comments, and so we wanted to, help everybody be as focused as they possibly could be, and get the word and hear it. And hard to do that when everybody's kind of looking down at these comments, and then some of them make us happy, and we thanks for saying that. And the other ones are saying, "I'll tell you one thing. How do you say?" And we end up being so distracted we can't hear what was actually being taught. So we're going to do that. Michael Ryan, thank you for being here. All right, so we got 6 in here right now. I might as well go and get started. Like I said, I may not be up here for a whole hour. I might just be up here a half hour. I'm just going to mention to you and talk about the 5 questions of life. And these questions are important because every human being is asking them every day of their life. 5 questions, whether they're all 5 or whether they're conscious of it or not conscious of it. Most people that are conscious of it, they're in pursuit of something. They're in pursuit of, everything that's going on in their day. They're just always pursuing for something better, pursuing understanding. And so these 5 questions of life, and I didn't create these questions. They were not created by anybody, but a gentleman named Miles Monroe, I don't know if you've ever heard him. He was a very good teacher from the Bahamas. And he passed away, I think, in 2014, 2015, something like that, in an airplane crash. And his wife, and I think maybe one of his daughters passed away. And but he came up with these and put, these 5 questions together. So I want to talk about those tonight because when I first left my job in 2009, I got a hold of his books because I was so hungry. I went and bought all of his Kingdom books. And he's a Christian. He was a Christian, but he spoke from a different angle where he narrowed everything down to the kingdom and what the kingdom is and, what it is, where it is, and stuff like that. And so I got a hold of his books and I saw these 5 questions and I got so excited about them because it finally put a new setting in my GPS, my internal GPS. And that's one of the things that helped me to ask questions and have some of these questions answered in my own journey. So I thank you for everybody for being here, all the hearts and everything that you do, your energy that you spend when you're listening, when you're paying attention, will come back to you. If you can let this word be sown into your heart or into your mind, it will reap a harvest for you. Okay? So let's go here to these 5 questions. Like I said, I may not be up here very long tonight, but we'll see. 5 questions of life. All right. Here are the 5 questions. Number 1, who am I? Now you're asking this question, and you've probably been asking it. I know you're not saying, okay, wake up in the morning, who am I? I don't know. You might. A lot of times when pressures get tough, why is this happening to me? And then you start, going through these scenarios in your mind to try to get these questions answered about, who am I and all of that. So whatever your situation is, the answer to all of the situations are going to be found in the answer of all of these questions. Who am I? This speaks to identity. Who am I? Doesn't speak of condition, it speaks to identity. Number 2, where am I from? This speaks to heritage. Number 3, why am I here? That speaks of purpose. Number 4, what can I do? This speaks of potential. And number 5, where am I going? This speaks of destiny. Now, like I said, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. It doesn't matter all of this conditioning that you've been through, this journey that you're on. This question is sought by all genres of thought, whether it's spiritual thought, people are trying to identify where they are at the very roots of their being spiritually. These questions are sought scientifically. They're thought in psychological circles. People that are in psychology try to answer all of these questions religiously. You're wherever you're at and whatever doctrine or religion you're involved with, if you are involved, you're trying to find these questions to be answered in those areas. And then just naturally, when you're raised up in certain conditions, some people have abusive homes, some people have homes that are peace, some homes are, we raised up in poverty, or it just produced all these conditions. And so we're trying to get all these questions answered from our condition mainly, because we want to produce a better life. Isn't that right? We figure if we can get all this understanding of this, we're gonna find out, that there's more to life, even in a natural life. Well, I know that I can have a better life if I get a better education. Well, that's not fair because I was raised up in a poverty-ridden family, and it's always been that way in my family, and so in spiritual circles, we're trying to get these questions answered because we want to please God, and we're trying to go to heaven, and we're trying to be, a certain way to the community, and we're trying to help the poor, and we're trying to do all of these things. And so a lot of circles, they just concentrate on their mind, and they don't think of anything else. It's all just psychological stuff. So we do a lot of self-help studies. Go to the library, get books on self-help, and I don't think any of these are wrong necessarily. I don't care what genre it is. If you can find out more about answering these questions, even in carnal ways, it's just information you're going to have. And all the information that you have, all the knowledge that you gained from all of these will be helpful for you. It's only when you're dealing with the constraints of carnal law, these questions here, they only intensify depending on the category that you're using and the vehicle you're using to try to answer them. They can literally set up barriers and conflicts in your mind about who you really are. So in other words, if I try to find out who I am scientifically, it's going to set up a wall, a limitation of who you are in all the other areas. Because scientifically, you're going to study biology, you're going to get into even the quantum mechanics of things, and you start looking at these areas. But as you're finding the information, if you're not careful, you'll block yourself into that the same way you would when you decide, I'm going to be a Christian or I'm going to be a Muslim. Well, once you study what a Christian is and study whatever denomination within Christianity, like Baptist or Methodist or Full Gospel, whatever, you lock yourself into their knowledge. And then it starts saying in your mind, it starts to preach to you that you're right and everyone else is wrong. You have to do it this way. And when that happens, you've kind of shut everything else out. Well, that's why it's important to look at these 5 questions from all different angles, because they should all be pointing you to one thing. And I'm telling you, when you take these questions and you give some serious thought to it, all you have to do, and I say to a lot of people, is when you're looking at these questions and you answer them, does it create the possibilities, these answers that you're finding, does it create the possibility of you conquering death? Because, see, death touches all genres of thought. No matter whether you're trying to answer these questions scientifically, if death is reigning, then you're not going to find life in these answers if you're just trying to find it scientifically. Even if you try to find it religiously, every religion says, well, you can't get to the epitome of what the Bible talks about, or Quran talks about, or the Book of Mormon talks about, until after you die, and then you experience the epitome. So every area and genre of thought that you try to get the answers to these questions, they all have this death issue sitting right there. They're all going to point to it. So guess what? When you answer the questions, you have to answer it outside of it. Like I said, all the answers from science, if you want to study, to answer these questions scientifically, it's going to take a lot of education. It's going to take, and look, the most scientific minds in history still don't know all the answers to these questions, because they're limited, because they don't know what's on the other side, right? After death, well, we really don't know. Well, what if we could get rid of the death issue? You see, if we didn't have death in the equation, well, we would probably get 99.999% of these questions answered because we would be taking that out of the equation. So let's just take a look at this. Who am I? It speaks of identity. Now, most people are going to say, they're going to answer this question when somebody asks them, well, who are you? Well, my name is Adam, and they speak of what their mind is conditioned to instantly pull out. And that answer that's just sitting right there on the tip of your tongue, just ready to jump right off of it. If somebody comes up to you from work or someplace, and maybe they're new, and they say, well, who are you? Well, I'm so-and-so, and I have whatever authority to come into this area, When the police stop you, for traffic stop, and they say, can I see your license, please, and registration, insurance, and all proof of insurance? What are they trying to do? They're trying to find out who you are. So they got to go to this identity to find out who you are. And most people, that's what they tell them. Well, my name is Adam, and and I'm from so-and-so, and I'm this, and I do this, and all of our identity is locked up into what we have been trained by our family, our parents, society, the culture, all of this. That's where we find our identity. And most people's identity, their value, is based on how many Ben Franklins they have in their back pocket. Because their whole life and identity they've been taught that your influence is tied to that, Your authority is tied to that, your identity. This is why the first question that you really need to get answered is, who are you? Who am I? And so religion will tell you, well, you're either a Christian or you're a Muslim or you're a Mormon. Your levels of, depending on, what, if you're a new convert, or maybe you can be a teacher, or you can be a prophet even, or you can be some kind of person that goes into the temples, and they have certain identities that they walk in, and certain qualifications. Your identity, let's say you're going into some kind of restricted area. Now, when I was in the Marine Corps, I had certain classifications that I had to, first of all, go through some certain tests, background checks, and all of these things, and then you get, certified or qualified for some certification, and of course you could have just a normal classification. You could have a secret classification. You can have a top secret classification, and whatever classification you are, if you show them your badge, who you are, then on your badge it tells you your classification. And see, that's the way we naturally think. We look at ourselves in the mirror, and guess what? There's a certain classification that we've already come to the conclusion that we're only capable of such and such. Now, we were trained to have these limitations. So if you're not a Christian, you don't go to church, you're considered to be a heathen in your classification. You go to church, or you hear about it, you talk to a Christian, you talk to somebody that is, they're trying to get you to change your classification. Come on over and come to the tabernacle, and speak to deacon, doctor, pastor, preacher, so-and-so. And they'll help you change your classification. So do you understand what I'm saying? So your identity will help in your mind to clear out this classification, because we have been so rooted in it that it's actually become a stumbling block and a stronghold in our mind. Okay? So who are you? Now, I can sit here and just tell you what I think you are and who you are. I can just tell you, but you're going to have your classification in your mind. And it says, you're going to have you got to get a lot of clutter in there. This is something that I'm bringing to you to help you be aware of these questions you need to ask yourself. I can't tell you who you are, because most people will say, well, that's just your opinion. But I can present the questions, and you can ask. Now, here's what I suggest. This is what I strongly suggest. If you want me to help you with these questions and qualifications and all of that, then I want you to write me at utologyforme@gmail.com. gmail.com, and since we remove the comments, you can just get it right up here, utologyforme@gmail.com, and present your answers to these questions. Tell me what you think the answer is in your mind. That's the only way I can even begin to help you, is to know what your answers are. And it's okay if your answers are maybe they fall short of your desire to know. Maybe you're frustrated because you have these answers that don't even satisfy you. Well, I can help you. All you have to do is write me at an email address, and I will do everything I can to help guide you. But ask yourself these questions, and then send me the answers, and let's talk about it. Okay? All right. Second question, where am I from? This speaks of your heritage. Somebody asks you that question, where are you from? The natural answer is, well, I was born in Connecticut. And this is what I used to do. I was born in New Haven, Connecticut. Yeah, and I was raised most of my life in California. And of course, my father did this, and then we traveled a lot. And I start going and spilling out all this stuff that, that's my identity. That's where I'm from. You see that? Or people say, well, I'm from Jackson, or I'm from Mississippi, or I'm from so-and-so. And they just naturally shift straight to the natural answer that comes out of it. But is that the truth? Or is that the facts? See, all those answers come from your senses. How do you know you're in California? Well, I was told, and I was shown a map, and we bring everything down to what our senses can understand. And when we believe that as our truth, that's what the carnal mind is all about. To be carnally minded is where this limited amount of knowledge is there, and it holds us back. It doesn't give us a clear image. It doesn't answer the question all the way. And yeah, I know you're Adam and you were born so-and-so. Yeah, I know that. And then, do you believe that? Oh, yeah, I believe that for sure. And then I'll start giving proof. Well, here's my birth certificate, and here's a... But see, all of it can be understood carnally. But if I were to shift, and I would start talking about other areas of thought, if I gave a scientific answer to somebody that just asked the question, where are you from? they're kind of expecting me to say, well, I'm from Jackson, or I'm in North Carolina, that's what they're looking for. But if I pulled out some scientific, and I started getting into quantum mechanics, where am I from? Well, that's a good question. We're all energy, and you start boggling people's minds about that. Energy? What are you talking about? Now I just want to know where you sound like you're from the South, or something. So when people ask these questions, that's what they're thinking of. They just want the basic understanding that their carnal mind can grab a hold of. So when you're asking this question, where am I from? You already have an answer that's a carnal answer. But is there more? What is your heritage? We go back, the DNA test. What's that DNA test called, honey? You take the test, you send it in, and Ancestry.com. I want to know where I'm from, and then you grab that and they'll take a little test, and as soon as they tell you, well, you're part German, you're part, French, and you whatever, some people have a lot of Irish in them, from a lot of anger, frustration, that kind of stuff, and that's where they're from, and they believe it. I mean, I believe that's who I am. I know that because this record tells me I am. It does straight from my blood, and so they believe that as their truth. And so, but where are you from? What really is your heritage as a human being? Remember, these questions are being asked by every human being, not just the Christians, not just the Muslims or the scientists, it's by every human being. They want to know the answers to these questions, and depending upon their thought in it and their drive to know, if there's not much drive to know, you'll just settle for the default answers or whatever somebody tells you. But if you're going to find out who you really are and where you're from and why you're here and all of that, you're going to have to do some seeking. So third question, why am I here? Now this speaks to purpose. Okay, this is your purpose. Why? This is where, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, there was a book that came out, Purpose Driven Life, by a minister. And it really brought in this question about what purpose is. What is my purpose? And people started, that's when they came out with all of the wristbands that said, what would Jesus do, to try to figure out and hone in on people's slowing down on some of the responses they give in certain situations. Well, what would Jesus do? And of course, all that's carnal too. What would Jesus do if your neighbor slapped you or he said something bad? Well, I just hold my tongue. I just try to think of something nice to say, whatever. But how do you respond? What do you say? And see, if you get to the root of who you are, if you can get to the root of answering these questions, you'll start responding differently, because you're going to find out your purpose, and you're going to speak from your purpose. You're going to speak from your heritage. You're going to speak from this identity that you have discovered that you are, that has no limitation, that has no boundaries. Death cannot hold it back. So there's not questions you have to, or an answers you got to, you got to say because, you might offend somebody. All that stuff's gone out the window. So, you ask yourself, what's your purpose? I've heard people say that. I don't know what my purpose is. They automatically go to their job, I figure out their skill set or, whatever, and they're trying to find their purpose to help humanity and some set of skills or whatever they have. Which leads to this next question, what can I do? That speaks of potential. What are you capable of doing? Well, if I have an education, I'm capable of doing a lot. Especially when the world looks at you and you got that degree hanging on the wall. Well, now you're capable. See, now you're bona fide. It's just a piece of paper. So you went to some school and you passed a few tests, and now you're capable. And then that capability that you now have, that you're now bona fide to have on that wall, and you look at it and you're just so proud of it and all that. And then they pay you more. and you're still made of flesh and blood, and you still have an identity. You got this heritage, you got this sense of purpose. And so because, you're just a human being that has a piece of paper on the wall, you deserve to get paid more. While the guy down here who doesn't know, never had any training, but he's still flesh and blood. He still has needs. He still has these certain desires, and he still has these questions he's trying to get answered in his life. Well, the guy that has the education that's now making, 7 figures a year will tell him, well, if you want to find all of these things, if you want a good life, you need to get an education. And so now they're taught, and if they can't get an education, now they feel condemned because they might be older and couldn't get an education, don't have the money for the education, they don't qualify, So, and that's the same with the credit system. You got to qualify. What's your credit score? Try to get you to change that and work harder, and like you're trying to earn something, as if, you're trying to compete with someone that tells you that you need to do better. Well, if you know who you are and where you're from, you have all these questions answered, well, then, that's where your peace comes from. That's just to know who you really are. That's the foundation that you've got to build everything on. And so I'm hoping that these questions will help at least kind of stir up in your mind this attitude that hey, every one of these questions that you're seeking answers for are found inside you. Questions and answers. They're all inside you. So there's not a college that can answer any of these questions. There's not a job that you can apply for and get hired for that'll answer any of these questions. Just because we run after these things exterior, we just run after them because we think all the answers are out there. But once you get out there, you find out this ain't satisfying. This is not answering these questions. Because even after you find out what your potential is, I got the education, I got this job, and now I'm a brain surgeon. Oh, that takes some capability right there. You got some potential, man. You're changing lives, but still on the inside, you sense more potential. Now what do? You got the education, you got this 7-figure job, now what? And I've said this several times on my live, is that Donna Summer back in the 70s or whatever, 80s or whenever it was, won all those Grammys. And then once she got done, she came back home with all the Grammys and she said, now what? What do I do now? I mean, I've already reached this certain potential and I achieved what they said that I could become the highest if I could just achieve that. Now what? And every one of you are sitting there on some plateau in your life where you feel like, there's more, and yet you don't know how to get there. You don't know how to achieve it. And most of us, we just look at the past and find out what we have done or haven't done, and then we kind of lose the motivation saying, well, they won't, and no one's going to believe me, or, I can't do that because I'm not capable. I don't qualify. So what can I do? It speaks of your potential. Potential, I'll just tell you, is hidden ability. It's ability on the inside of you that you haven't yet found. It's potential. It's power. It's this powerful ability you have not discovered yet. But it's in there. Just because you haven't discovered it doesn't mean it's not there. It's like you can walk around your house, and you got all these closets, and maybe there's several you haven't even opened up. Well, you have no idea what's in there. So you've got these closets, these secret places that Jesus was talking about. He said, when you go into the secret place and you begin to see what is there, prayer becomes you seeing what is in there. Prayer becomes that you making demand on what's in those closets that you have never known that was in there. But when you start opening it up and you go in there, you start talking. And you start talking what you see. And that becomes your potential. Most people have no idea what their potential is because of all these secret places they're not aware of, because nobody's telling them that all the answers are inside you, but they're kind of locked up for you. And until you get the desire to discover, so you bring in some kind of law of discovery, some desire to know, you probably will keep those closets closed. And everything in them, all the potential, the knowledge, the wisdom, the insight, the power of life are in these closets. So I hope these questions will help you go inside, kind of knock on these doors and find out. And because when you open them up and you step inside, what you see in secret, the Bible says what you see in secret, your Father's right in there. The source, the life, the power is in these places of potential. So that's why you get in there and you commune. This is the reason why a lot of the, in the religion of Jewish religion and all that, the priest and the people that pray put these little things over their head, and I forget what you call those things, but you know what that name is I'm talking about. They stand the wall, the Wailing Wall, or the priest will wear them. It's to help them to zone in on this kind of secret place, like it's me. It makes them feel like it's me and God in here, and that's it. See, and then they're trying to, they're praying with these shawls or whatever you call them, and no, not that. No, I'm not talking about the thing that sits on the head. I'm talking about the little. I keep wanting to say blanket, but it's not a blanket. I can't remember what they call the thing. Anyway, the talit. There you go. Thank you, my darling. She's over there just find out what that thing is called. But just because I don't know the name doesn't mean I understand or don't understand what they are. But that's what I'm saying, is that they get in there and it's a secret place, and it's between them and God. Well, that's the place where they believe at that point where God is there, present in their mind. They're just trying to anchor their mind to close everything out, become so minded of Christ in you and that kind of deal. But most people don't know Christ in them. They don't know Christ as their potential. So you have to go inside, get in that closet, shut the door where the Father is, where your potential is, where the answers are at. And then all the answers to these questions can be found in those closets based on your passion of pursuit. Because here's another one. The last question is, where am I going? This speaks to destiny. Now, some people say I don't believe in destiny. It is what it is, and that's just the way it is, and I'll get to wherever I'm willing to fight to go to college, get the money. When I get enough money, I'm going to get a nice house. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there because it's my destiny. Well, once you find out you didn't pass the test, couldn't graduate, and then couldn't get the money, get the good job for the money to get you where you said you wanted to go, then all of a sudden here come the excuses. They didn't let me in for whatever reason in that college, and they're biased, and, but I thought it was destiny, So, where are you going? What internal GPS system is set? What have you set to see based on all these questions? Who you are, where are you from, why are you here, what can you do, and where you're going? All these questions align to say one thing. Now, I'll come out and tell you, but real quick, every one of these questions have to do with whether you're connected to death, the law of sin and death, or you are connected to the law of the Spirit of life. These questions, this internal inerrant desire to answer these questions and to find the answers based on a road you're on. You're either on the road where you're seeking all of these answers based on the traditions of men, the traditions of religion, all of these senses and everything you've been taught under your five physical senses. And that's why it never can seem to be satisfying, because you never do find the answer. It's just you're trying to find it. And the frustration and the anger and the not knowing your purpose, your potential, all this stuff is because it can't reveal to you. Your senses and the knowledge that you have and all the facts that come from it can never promise you that you will live and not die. This is the whole purpose of all of this that mankind is seeking. To know the answers so he can have confidence, so he can know. Know what? Well, I went to college and I studied this certain subject so I could know this subject better than anybody else. Okay, well, after you do that, You're trying to tell me that nobody's going to come behind you to know it better than you? And then you're going to, go, oh my gosh, they know more than me. So now I need to go back to college and study or whatever. For what purpose? So you can have more money, get a better job, be looked at in the community as the one that's got it together. Do you ever have it together? Have you found anybody? I'm talking about anybody. We look at the president of the United States, whoever's in office. Well, they got it together because they got the highest office in the land. But do they have it all together? Do they? Everybody says, well, I'll tell you one thing, Trump, or I say, Bush or Obama, these people. Everybody's got an opinion about whether they got it together or not. So can you find anybody out here that's got it all together? And what does it look like when it's all together? So you can know. My wife looks at me. She says, Adam, have you got it all together? I don't know, do I? Some people up here say, you ain't got it together, brother. See, what you talking about is so far out, man. You on drugs or something. No, it's just coffee. It's good coffee. No, what I'm trying to do is to kind of bring this thing together so that you understand that your carnal mind will always reach to answer these questions carnally. And in your carnal pursuit and your carnal answer, it's not going to satisfy. What God already says you are, where you're from, what you have, your potential, your power, your destiny, is all answered in this thing called life. There's a law and the direction that you put your pursuit. God says, seek the kingdom first. Well, see, the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of light are both there in you, but which direction you pursue? One will never answer the questions and keeps you in a carnal pursuit all of your life, whether you're spiritual or you're not, whether you know God, whether you're scientific minded. It just keep you constantly seeking for something that's never satisfying. But if you can find out who you are based on life, the law, the spirit of life, it answers all the questions. And then there's a confidence that says, just like little David did to Goliath. Well, Goliath, I know what you're saying. You're saying I'm not ever going to measure up, but I'm telling you by covenant of law, the law of the spirit of life, I already measure up, and I'm telling you what I'm going to do. Because, see, you got the Father behind you. You got this law that's within you, that's working from you, and it is the power, the potential, the destiny, the heritage. It's everything. It's your ability. It's everything. And you live in that. You depend on that. And that goes totally against the carnal mind. And this is why, the people that have got the great minds in the earth, most of them, their pursuit was trying to find the answers outside of them. They knew there was something, but they were just trying to find it out here through their senses, try to get their senses, the knowledge, to get the understanding in their carnal mind. But the mind of Christ it holds all the answers, life or death. And your pursuit is going to determine what answers you get, that you find. It'll determine that. So I'm trying to get you not to connect so much to death because it's very disappointing. And death, the law of sin and death, it has a predetermined outcome. So you already know what death is going to tell you. But I'm telling you the law of the spirit of life also has a predetermined end. It'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. If you say what it says, if you stand up in what it says you are, where you're from, all of these questions of life. That's why it's called the questions of life, not the questions of death. Most of us take the questions of life and we're supposed to find everything inside, all these answers inside, instead of relying on what everybody else says. Your grandparents said, and your uncles say, and your coworkers say that you are your potential. Well, I've been here for 15 years and you've only been here for 6 months. What makes you think you can do more than me? It's all this competition and condemnation. But a person who knows who they are can walk in the law, the spirit of life, and go to a workplace and in 6 months become ahead of that department and make more than everybody because they're depending on something inside. But they don't do it from a greedy position to say, see what I did. No, it's now how can I help my fellow worker to learn and know what I know from where I found it and help raise them up. You see, that's when stuff is done where somebody knows who they are, and then they answer these questions, they find out who they are, they know their potential. And then from that, it's motivated by love. How can I help others to know who they are? So that's my heart, is to know how to discover all of these things. And I personally, and I say this, I don't say it with apology at all, I believe I have found the stream, the river, the current, where all of these answers, all these questions are answered. And I found it. And it's like I told my family, I said, if we were all in a pit, maybe in some kind of cave or something like that, and you got all of these access caverns and tunnels and all of that stuff, and you have to send somebody out to try to find the way out. Well, most people, if they found the way out, they're gone. I'm saved, amen, all right. Kind of forget everybody else. But I'm the kind of person, if I find the way out, I want to go back and tell everybody, because then I want to make sure the last man that's in there, it gets out before I already know the way out. So I want to help tell them what direction to go in and help them out of the mess they're in. And most people are in the mess so thick they can't see. It's so dark to them they cannot see. So all we need is a little bit of light, and the entrance of the word of life gives light, because the life is the light of men. And now it doesn't matter what tragedy they have faced, it doesn't matter what they're in, whether it's financial, physical, mental, it doesn't matter, they can see. So even though we were blind in darkness, it didn't mean we couldn't see, it just means there was so much darkness around us we couldn't see past it. And once you get a little bit of light, you start to change the answer on these questions, because you're finding out that inside the answers are already there. So, like I said at the beginning of this, if I want you to take and seriously screenshot these questions here, and go back and ask them. Ask these questions to yourself. And then write me at utologyforme@gmail.com. I'm going to keep this screen up for just a minute so you can screenshot it, whatever. Utologyforme@gmail.com, and then tell me your answers. Just tell me what you naturally think. If somebody were to come and ask these questions to you, what would be the answer that would come out? You don't want to tell me what I want to hear. I want you to tell me what it is you would actually say, that you feel comfortable with when you say it. Nobody has to toss a bone to me. A lot of times I can see through that. Just tell me where you are. Tell me what this, because there's no right or wrong answer. It's just a matter of, you don't want to cloak everything and be an appearance of something. Just be real. So if you struggle with these and you say, I don't know the answers, well then good, I can start. I know where you are. I can start and kind of build some understanding in that, so I can get you headed in the right direction, because I can head you into a direction that'll show you more than what your carnal senses will. So just write me at utologyforme@gmail.com. It's on the screen. And then say, hey, help me answer these questions, or just tell me what your answers are, and we can just have a discussion about it. If you're satisfied with your questions, hey, or your answers, hey, go for it. If you're satisfied with them, just the only thing I ever tell anybody or suggest to anybody is, if the answers that you have cannot get physical death off of you, then there's more. Just don't be settled with that. Because you can have all those answers you feel comfortable with, but still got to look at death, and it's going at you. As they said, okay, that's some cool answers. That's pretty good, but I'm going to have the final say. And we're trying to strip that final say from death and say, now what are you going to do? Where's your answer now? Where's your potential now, death? Where's your strength? Where's your sting? Where's the grave? Where's your power at? When you find the answers, that shut down death, then you have found the way, the life. And that's what all humanity is looking for. So that's what I have for you tonight, and I hope that it's helped you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I hope you stick around or have stuck around. I hope you get this information. If not, I will have this video uploaded probably tomorrow on my YouTube channel. You can find that if you go to my profile right here at TikTok, click on my Linktree link, and then scroll down to the bottom and come to Utology YouTube, and that's you could have my previous messages up there. And I'll tell you what, if I know I might seem biased like anybody else would. I want everybody to go and watch my videos, not because I want the likes or I just want you to subscribe, but because there's a lot of information up there you're not going to hear from anywhere else. Not that I'm aware of, because I'm definitely trying to find anybody that even talks along these lines. But I want to get you there. So if you watch them and you hear what I'm saying, it'll resonate in you. And then you start getting answers that you've never had before. And that is the goal. It doesn't do any good for me just to keep stacking on videos in a YouTube channel. Just here, I've got 400 videos, or anything like that. It doesn't do any good. I've got videos on my other YouTube channel, like 400 or 500 videos, and still might have 12 views. What good is it to put it up there if nobody runs to it? And the whole goal for putting these videos up there is to help you. So if I were you, I would take advantage of the help. So I'm here for you. I appreciate you. I should be back tomorrow morning. My wife just said no. I have no idea. Tomorrow's Thursday. Thursdays is kind of our errand day. It's where we run around and do what we gotta do. And I forgot to tell you all that last time. So tomorrow morning, I won't be there. I won't be going live. But tomorrow night, I'll be going live. I have to get yes, you're going live, because she knows all the stuff, that I pay attention to things. She keeps me in order. So, but I'll be back tomorrow night, and hopefully between now and then, I'll have some of y'all have sent me an email and talk about these questions, whatever. Bless you tonight. Until we meet again, I'm Adam King. God bless you.